to another edition of Schmoedown Night in Canada. Once again, I'm your friendly neighborhood friendly neighborhood soda, and once again, I am joined by my man Daniel. How you doing, Daniel?
Not bad, not bad. What? Are you the only one with a title like that? Our friendly neighborhood soda?
Yeah,
I mean,
I think so.
we have the one I made up for myself in the chat, but that's about it.
Yeah, the soda thing, the origins of that date back, God, like 12 years ago now. So I've come up with different things like if someone's having problems, like tell your Uncle Soda what's up, or if it's Christmas, I'm Soda Claus, right? I don't know. It's just some stuff that used to come to me. So I think I just found friendly neighborhood soda kind of worked.
Yeah, I wasn't talking so much about the soda nickname, just the friendly neighborhood. Like, we have,
yeah, I don't know. I just found it rolled off the tongue.
We got the Frenchie and producer Dave, but they don't have comic book titles.
Yeah, again, it's just something that rolled off my tongue one day, and I just liked it. And for me, it kind of stuck. I don't know how everybody else feels about it.
And then I have my semi-official ambassador to corruption, but that's another thing altogether, which we'll get into in this episode later on.
Yes, it is very appropriate. And as Dan, you'll mention,
we're covering the Schmoedown Throwdown. We got Shazam versus Who's the Boss, and we got the Founding Fathers defending their championship against corruption, and an opportunity for the Finstock Exchange to make a lot of points. But sadly, we'll get into some of this.
I will say this is the first time in a long time that a match has given me anxiety. To the point where I was just like coddling on my couch, like I just want this to be over.
Which one?
the title match.
I found the first match was particularly anxiety driving as well, and we can get into that now. We got Shazam versus Who's the Boss, and the winner of this match will play the winner of the later match. So that's kind of cool. That usually you don't see that kind of undercard, so interesting.
So what were your thoughts going into the match?
My thoughts going into the match were, as I mentioned when I was previewing it, I thought a lot of things depended on Mark Riley and like how well he was going to jump into playing, as like after not playing for so long and into the digital era, there have been a number of people who have stumbled a little bit. And this actually proved true until we get to the second round, where Riley makes an insane comeback. And Ben Bateman actually mentions that earlier in an interview. I believe it might have just been on Backstage. He said, like, Mark Riley is the guy who nails those questions for Who's the Boss, the second round and the third round questions. Like, he's their knowledge player, and Ben Bateman's their gameplay player, right?
Yeah, and this match was going into it. It really was a pick 'em because Who's the Boss was the tournament winner of 2 years ago, and Shazam was the tournament winner of last year. Were they not?
Yes, actually. They played Founding Fathers at Spectacular.
That's correct. So were two high quality teams. Going into it, though, Shazam had a bit of an advantage because they just played last week against Final Exam. So, did you think do you think a little bit of ring rust played into how the match started?
I really do, because I think ring rust has played a factor in a lot of people's games, and you see it. And like, I wouldn't even say it's ring rust; it's just the new formula of. I would chalk it up to over comfortability, because
that's a different take on it.
Well, yes, and a lot of players have been talking about getting to sit in like their own living room or their own bedroom and play from a comfortable spot. But there is something to be said about psyching yourself up with the crowd, and the nerves of getting on stage give you the requirement to perform, right? And I mean, I did a couple of different theater projects in high school, and I felt that, like, when you're actually on stage, like, even if you forget 90% of your lines, somehow they come out of you because you need to perform for yourself, for the audience, for everyone. And I think there's something to be said about being too comfortable in your own home, that you're not nervous. You're not actually, like, pushing yourself.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. Like, I also have done the theater projects, and there is a big difference between, you know, just doing rehearsal and being in front of people, and it definitely adds that little bit of edge to what you bring to the table, because you have to be on. Whereas with this, you're really, you're playing for a lot of people, but you're not getting that interaction. Which also, I'm surprised, like, because a lot of, like, going back to the old format where the matches were pre-taped in the studio, you don't. I mean, there is a little bit of a crowd there, but I guess that really does make a big difference as well.
Yeah, I think, like, the excitement even a small crowd brings to the game is something you need, which you notice, like, Shannon and Roxy in particular, and Winston will be that cheering section for their players during those 60-second breaks where they're allowed to talk to their competitor. You notice they're clapping and they're cheering and they're screaming to psych up their players and get them into that like position. And to bring it back to the high school theater, it doesn't matter how off book you are, and until you're out on the stage when it's a completely different story. We especially being nervous and not knowing my own lines and still remembering everybody else's in the scene, because we would do that sometimes when practicing, of just like, oh yeah, I'm going to do every single line in the scene and steal your lines and then voice mine back. And you can remember everyone's except yours. The pressure is on you. And so let's actually get into the match.
Yes, sir. Before we start off, what about that cameo by Lon Harris at the beginning?
Oh, that was so great. I mean, he was so used to showing up every Friday at that time that it kind of turned into a routine for him. And I mean, I guess if you keep feeding a stray cat, they're gonna keep showing up. That's
and after a while they'll come looking all. You know, after a while they'll finally show up looking like they're actually ready to be somewhere instead of they just rolled out of a sewer somewhere.
And I laughed quite a bit when everybody came on screen and Ben Bateman has a whiteboard that might be bigger than I am. And as this match will prove, bigger isn't always better.
No.
Although he does technically score the second most points in round one. The kid scores 7, just misses the perfect round. Riley only takes 4 out of 8 questions, which he looked particularly rattled to be in the new digital era, but he quickly shakes it off, and like he misses a couple of the early questions, and I think by the end he misses 1 in the second half, but I believe it was just like, it's a question outside his knowledge, not something Rust related. Interestingly, Who's the Boss uses all 3 repeats in round 1.
Really?
Yeah. All 3 repeats are gone in round 1.
Wow. That's not something you'd ever expect from a team of that caliber.
Yes, but I have also heard Bateman mention, like it has to do with like if you need them in round one, especially in a teams match, it is better to use the JTEs in round one than it is 2 and 3. Because when you're
Okay.
putting two brains to a question, you should be able to pull it within 15 seconds or pull a reasonable answer. Plus, you can always, in round two, check down to multiple choice, which gives you a second reading of the question and
Yeah.
answer and another 15 seconds. And so there is a certain strategy to using them early on if it means racking up those round one points. And those round one points are very important in a teams match. It's 16 points.
Yeah. And
And
if
then
anybody knows about the strategy, it is Ben Bateman, that's for sure.
yeah, yeah. And that's it, is JTEs are better off used late in a singles or inner geekdom match, and they're better used early on in a teams match. Or if you don't need them, save them for round 3.
Yeah,
Because
makes
round 2, you always have that bonus.
Yeah, when hearing it explained, it actually it makes greater sense.
Yeah. Yeah, so Shazam 13, Who's the Boss 10 in round 1. Interesting round. No perfects, which is rare because the Beast is usually very good at round 1 questions and free-for-all champion, right? Well, not champion, MVP.
Do you think Bateman jinxed himself?
Yes and no. I mean, you can only jinx yourself if you psych yourself out because of it, and I think he just, after those comments ran into questions he didn't know the answers to. I don't think he pressured himself into missing something he did already knew, you know?
Yeah, fair enough. And the kid had a great comeback for that. Like, it happens after you commented on it. Yeah, look at
that. We get into round 2. Shazam defers.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't know what the deal is with deferring or not deferring. If it really is, like, if there's an advantage to it. I think there is in some divisions. This one, maybe not. Who knows?
It's more of a pressure thing, because if you defer to the person that you're going to defer to the person that's down, they have to catch up to you first. And I don't know. I think it's just more a mindset sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. I would play it on the spread myself. I would look at, like, there's 8 categories. If 5 are good and 3 are bad, I spin first. If it's the other way around, my opponent spins first. Knock out a category that preferably they're not good in, or even better, one I'm not good in, because then I can't spin it no matter what I do, I don't know. And they spin opponent's choice, and they're given classics, and this is devastating because I know Bibiani's great at those, and the kid is also a classics machine. I don't know why he watched every movie that exists before his time, except for 80s movies, but I mean,
Amen.
Yeah, he's seen every movie from like 1930 to 1980, and then he hasn't caught up yet. He's only
Amen. There's a lot of great movies, great movies in the classics category. I've watched my fair share of them.
I'm not a classics person, just because I have trouble watching, especially like very old movies, and I don't know. It just I prefer movies in the modern era because they can actually conceptualize what people are like visualizing in their heads more than the limitations of practical effects.
So no Charlie Chaplin movies for you. Got it.
No, I mean, I appreciate the art, but I'm not going to go watch them on a Saturday night just for my own pleasure. I'll watch them as, like, this is an interesting form of filmmaking.
Yeah, no, you're definitely not wrong there.
So Shazam, or not Shazam, Who's the Boss goes 5 for 12 and gives up 4 possible points, which Shazam takes all of. That was a very, very like not well played round.
What do you think of the challenge that happened?
I have a thing here. The semantics challenge, it must have been for momentum. Like there could be no possible way anyone thinks that challenge is winnable. But Ben Bateman is oft to throw a challenge that can just stop the game at the right time. And this one just happened to not be the right time. But considering they were down before Shazam started and they were taking all of the steals, you might as well throw out a challenge on the off chance that it works.
So you think it was a good call then? Or a good challenge?
I think it's a terrible challenge, but I think it's a good time to make one.
Yeah, I hear you.
And yeah, like that challenge was going to be thrown out. It was not going to ever be awarded to them, but we don't have a timeout, so I advocate for using that challenge if you have it and don't have any other way to move forward, which they don't at this point.
Yeah.
And then Shazam goes in, they spin comedies, they decide to take it. I'm very surprised how close to opponent's choice and Who's the Boss spun opponent's choice. Right? Like so many almost spins, and yeah, it's very interesting. Shazam, how many points did they get? They take 9 points in round 2 and get 9 out of 12, and they knock out Who's the Boss. How?
Right?
I don't even know how a team at that caliber gets knocked out. We see it. We've seen it still. Well, so
I was gonna say we've seen it before because didn't top 10 against Patriots get knocked out?
I'm not familiar so much with that run and everything. I could not tell you for sure.
I'm pretty sure it was the last time those two teams played, the top 10 got smoked.
But yes, like post Anarchy, when all of the super teams formed, and like, I mean, top 10 was a good team, but they were not a great team.
Yeah, there's no way they'd hang today.
And I think pretty much from the early era, the only teams that could hang today are the Patriots, the Shire Wolves, who played into this modern era, and maybe above the line. But
I'd throw in Wolves of Steel too.
Well, yes, Wolves of Steel, just because. I mean, I almost included Team Champs as well, just predicated on that. Like, it's two super competitors, so why wouldn't it be a great team? And you see, even with the lower tier of teams, they are more stacking knowledge rather than stacking friends together in this modern era. And like, especially in a number 1 contenders or championship match, we should not expect a full knockout in round 2. It's incredible that it happened. Like, I really don't think we're gonna see another one of these for a while, because like, Who's the Boss is too good a team to be knocked out. It's wild that they were.
Yeah, you're 100% right. It's definitely gonna be one of those moments that'll live in infamy just because of who it was that was knocked out. Like, if it was like just a regular old team, it would have been like, okay, whatever. But because it was Who's the Boss, it was a shocking moment, to say the least.
And then let's see. They score 9, So they win 26-15. So they had a possible 36 points, which might be the team's record. I'm not positive.
Not anymore if you include the finals.
Yeah. And yeah, I think they could easily stack up against either of the two teams we're about to talk about. And I don't want to give away that yet.
Nope, but we might as well just hop straight into it. The main event of the Founding Fathers versus Corruption number 4. Holy crap, was this a match? Like, so, it's up there, match of the year contender now.
I do want to point out one thing, and a lot of people have been talking about like rubber matches, and this is the first time two teams have played together for the 4th time.
Yep.
And yeah, everybody, no matter which way this goes, the rivalry cannot be settled because, I mean, especially in our eyes as Canadians, we should expect 4 victories before we allow a winner to be determined, right?
Yes, the Stanley Cup. Yep. Stanley Cup, baby.
And especially if you're playing 4 championships constantly, that 4 out of 7 series is the best way to determine a winner.
Amen.
And so this is just game 4, and Corruption is up 2-1. They need another victory or 2 on Founding Fathers before we declare them the winners. So let's get into round 1.
Yes, sir.
I really liked the you don't mess with the Zohan question because everyone knew the answer, but everybody also knew that it was gonna be hard to get right. You see, Roka has the erased on his board, but he misses it, and he also didn't have the U at the beginning. It was a great question.
Yeah, it was. It was definitely a mind twister.
Also, I didn't know there was a U. I actually knew the answer to that question, but I thought the answer was "Don't mess with the Zohan."
Yeah, no, it was you. It's one of the movies I've seen the least of Adam Sandler, but I knew that.
And yeah, so that trips up Roka and Mike. Everyone misses the last question except for Chance, who had his board up before the question was finished being read out, and you can tell he is finally finally tuned into his game. And I mean, to go from Inner Geekdom to a team's championship match within a couple of weeks and just to completely change your studying. Both of these guys were incredible throughout the match, and
I'd say that Chance has a strong shot at Player of the Year. Strong shot to win it. Based on this and winning the tournament. He's definitely got a stake in it for sure.
I've got a big thing to talk about Manager of the Year, but I'm going to do that at the end, and it's kind of the same argument for even less so, because Chance is just an incredible player, and possibly by the time this is all done will be looked at as the best player of all time. At the moment. Oh yeah, the
better than Merle.
He has a better accuracy than Merle. He's played less games, sure, but he scores incredibly high, and he answers an enormous amount of questions, and he's in his 20s still. So he has years and years he can keep playing this game, and he will eventually get to that. Christian was talking about if Ethan Irwin goes into the tournament and Dan defends his next title, by the time, if Ethan wins the tournament, by the time they face each other, Dan's record will be 16-5, and Ethan's will be 15-5.
Wow!
Because Ethan will have to win 5 matches.
Yep.
And Yeah, like if Chance wins 5 matches, his record will be like, I believe it'll be 7-3, maybe
Wow, that's
something
pretty
around
good.
there. And then his Inner Geekdom record on top of that,
Yeah,
he could be double or triple belted at the end of this year. Like it.
yeah, you're not wrong. You're not
Yeah,
wrong. He's the for hockey fans. He's the Quinn Hughes of the Schmoedown.
he's in his 3rd season.
Yeah, I know, and that's the crazy thing. Like, there's so much more ahead of this guy.
Mm. Yeah. So we got a 13-13 tie game after round 1 with only one perfect round from Chance. And the Founding Fathers defer again and don't put spinners on the wheel because Dan doesn't like spinners in championship matches.
Which I get.
I get it, but I also do not the controversy over it last season. It was absolutely a choice, and it was given to, and also I think you should be able to deal with spinners and opponents in a championship match. Like, you should be able to navigate that playing field if you intend to win a title. And to choose not to put it on is a respectable choice. I'm not taking that away from anyone. But if Paulo Yama wants to say, like, spin the wheel and actually be nervous about it, then you should. So we get into round number 2. Corruption spins Angela Bassett and then respin into 80s. And they do rather well. They get 10 out of 12, no steals. So we can just roll into Founding Fathers. There wasn't anything particularly interesting in this round.
No, both teams were firing in all cylinders. They weren't giving an inch either way.
And yeah, really the only interesting thing is the wheel spins, in that we got Angela Bassett, which is a new wheel slice, and then Founding Fathers roll video games, which is a new wheel slice.
Yeah.
And then they mulligan that, and they get Angela Bassett, and she gets to make her Schmoedown debut with an incredible showing as well, 11 out of 12. One check for multiple choice on the last question, but it looked like they knew every single one before that. And Founding Fathers takes a lead, 24-23. Round 3, the betting round, that little bit of a kerfuffle with the shuffling everybody around.
Yeah. Well, this is the first time they've done this format for a team's title, and they're doing it live, so it's understandable.
Also, I can see why. Like, I think in the future you can just ask the question to the team, especially if they want to go first. You just have them deliberate, send the message, or don't even send the message in the private chat. Say it on the regular chat with the guys in the other stream. Say it out loud, and then get the question, answer it, pop them into the other group, and then do the exact same thing with the team going second.
Yeah.
And it keeps everybody on screen for one question, and then the other team for one session, and then you bring everybody back and you give the answer, basically. Nothing super important there. They spin Nora Ephron, and
we seem to have seen quite a bit lately.
Yeah, actually, she's been spun quite a few times. Yeah. As one of the, I'm not sure if she's a new category, but one that has certainly seen. Like, I don't know if she's one of the 30 or so new slices that they added this year specifically, but been spun a number of times this year. Founding Fathers bets 3, Corruption bets 2. Both of them hit it. It's the name of a character in Witness, or the actor of a character in My Blue Heaven, who goes into witness protection. I was stunned at this question, really, because It gives so many context clues. Like,
Yeah.
I
You want to know a fun fact about that movie?
hmm?
So the main character that Steve Martin plays is based on the main character from Goodfellas, Henry Hill.
Oh, interesting.
Yep. Yep.
And I guess this guy's life story was interesting enough to write the
Well,
movie
he
twice.
wrote a book. He wrote a book,
Ah,
and that's what My Blue Heaven was based on. And then, yeah,
I
Goodfellas.
see.
Yeah.
I see.
Yep.
All right. 27 to 25 after round number 3. Yes, betting round is 3. We get into round number 4. Founding Fathers with the lead decide to defer. After the first couple of speed rounds where people were going first, we've seen every one that has come afterwards, they choose to defer and go second. I do think that's the smart move, and I actually said that the first time I saw a speed round. And they choose to go second. I made a note somewhere else to talk about this. Do you think they should allow the teams to kind of confer on screen and say Founding Fathers is in the lead, right? Which they are. So Corruption chooses player A, who gets set A. And then Founding Fathers gets the opportunity to match a player up against that. And then the other team, and then, yeah. So you're kind of matching lineups the way you would in hockey, right?
Okay.
If you're playing at home, the opposing team chooses their lineup, and then you get final decision of which lineup you're putting out.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and that
would add an interesting wrinkle, that's for sure.
Yeah, I made a note to mention it because I saw somebody ask about something along those lines in the Facebook group, and I thought maybe that was going to be how they did it, but considering they dropped the other team out and into the second stream before even deciding set A and B is also just as fair. It's just I was curious as to which way they were going to do it.
That other way definitely would work. It would bring a more of a strategy to that fourth round, that's for sure.
Yeah, and like you wonder if Chance decides to take set A, do they put Roca up against Chance and Dan against Mike to try and it's curious. Anyway, Corruption goes first. Chance goes first for Corruption. He passes on one question. Mike hits all 5 of his. We don't know that until the end of the round. But they score 9. The Founding Fathers each pass on one question and miss one question. So they score 6, lose 2.
Wasn't a great round for them, that's for sure.
When we thought like this kind of speed round wasn't going to allow catch-up to be possible, we did not foresee a teams round where you only score 4 points, right? 4 out of 10 is like if we boiled that down to the regular speed round, that's you getting not even 3 questions because the other team scored better. So translating it, I would say you got 2 of the buzz-ins or 3 of the buzz-ins and 1 of them was wrong. So you only picked up 1 point in a speed round. And the other team got 2 of the buzz-ins and they got it right. So like it's interesting. So they score 4 points and Corruption takes the first lead of the game with 34-31. And this was the point where I had Corruption going into the match. I wasn't terribly worried for their chances most of this match, to be honest. They were behind for most of it, but only by 2 points, and that's a question in the third round, which to be fair, all of these guys are capable of hitting every question in the last round, which they do here. And we don't really see a lot of sudden death, right? And it would have been crazy if the third week in a row we got a throwdown with a sudden death match right after we got a match with a knockout in it.
Yep. Yeah, no, man. If these two teams had gone to sudden death, we wouldn't be recording right now. We'd still be watching the damn thing.
And that would be, I mean, they're 3 points away. All that had to happen was corruption to miss 1 3-point question in this last round, and we would have went there. Not too much to talk about until the 5-pointers. 2 points was rom-com Roca, male co-star of The Last Christmas. I didn't write the answers.
Henry Golding.
Oh, wow. All right, so I'm going to quiz you here. 3-point, Tarantino. Dan, war film mentioned in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
The Great Escape.
Yes, that was correct. 2-point for Mike. Quotes. What film was the quote, "They call me Mr. Tibbs" from?
Oh, shit, In the Heat of the Night.
Okay.
Great movie.
I don't actually know if you're correct. I don't know where that line is from.
Yeah, if I'm going to recommend a classic film, definitely watch that one. It's a good movie.
All right, I will.
Yeah.
Let me just fix my headphones. Drama's Chance. James Dean's last film.
It's my favorite James Dean movie, Giant.
All right, I believe that's what he said. So yes, going into the 5-point question, both Corruption and Founding Fathers have never missed a 5-point question.
Really?
They all individually have in singles, but Founding Fathers are 2 for 2 for their 5-point questions, which has only been their 2 matches. I think they should be 3 for 3 because they played Corruption 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they got TKO'd by Corruption. But yes, and then Corruption is apparently 6 for 6 on 5-point questions.
Wow.
And yes, leading into their championship match, Cash In, Founding Fathers had TKO'd most of their opponents, so hadn't really answered 5-point questions, which makes sense why they're farther behind. But it is curious that neither team has missed a 5-point question, and while I think this stat is slightly off, and Founding Fathers is now 4-4, and Corruption is 7-7, we get Founding Fathers with a Scorsese question. And I really like this question because you have to watch the film, I think, because I doubt this is in the description of the film. I don't think.
No.
Okay. Do you know the film After Hours?
No, that's the thing. I'm actually pretty weak on Scorsese, and that is definitely one of his movies I've never heard of.
Yeah. And yeah, like a computer data entry worker and a sculptor making paperweights. And I mean, Scorsese makes some weird movies about some weird things, but I don't think those two are the focal point of any film. Like how
no, that is a movie you have to pay freaking attention, that's for sure.
Yeah. So getting that answer was very impressive. And then Corruption gets a horror question, which essentially boils down to the director of Annabelle Comes Home. And also a writer on most of the other. Is that?
Yeah, it was most of the others.
Is the Nun and Annabelle the same franchise?
Yep.
Yeah? Okay.
Yep. The Nun King comes out of The Conjuring too.
Yeah, and so they're all Conjuring related then?
Yeah.
That's what I thought, but I wasn't even sure. Chance burns all the repeats and fools even Mike into thinking he's not clear on the answer, but he knew it the whole time.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That just shows how good his game has gotten. that he could do that.
I mean, to be fair, his game has always been there. I was just looking back through his matches to see if like he hits the 5 every time, and he misses it against Oyama and against Bibiani, but I believe he hits it against Ethan and loses anyway. And he also has a couple of TKOs, so he didn't answer questions in those. And you can see he has incredibly deep cut knowledge on top of the like general knowledge in the earlier rounds. He just hasn't had the opportunity to really play a game against competitors that aren't the big guys.
Yeah, and like I'm going to clarify, like I didn't have any doubt of his knowledge is how he played the game, how he was able to sucker everyone in. Like that's a Ben Bateman move, like like top tier Ben Bateman move.
I think a lot of his tribulations in his first 2 seasons, if you can even call it that, because last year they won a team's championship and he has been knocked out of 2 tournaments, but by the 5-pointer against Ethan Irwin and William Bibiani. So he's had incredible matches while also having some incredibly close losses. And a lot of his like renaissance this season I would call more opening up personally and really really getting into his character and getting into the game in itself. And he was quite a formidable person back in the fan leagues. He at one point was a champion in multiple divisions in multiple fan leagues.
Holy crap.
Yeah, he's got a pretty incredible trivia record if you look outside the movie trivia Schmoedown. Yeah. And he's had some bad luck opponents.
Yeah, and with that, we have new teams champions. Now, I got to say, I love Shannon's reaction because when they brought it on the screen, it was like, oh, where is she? And just to see her run right in the mic screen, like, it's perfect.
I knew it was coming just like because you hear the scream, and before they've even like brought Shannon on, like Shannon's camera up, you saw like there was a bit of a disturbance. Maybe their dog ran out. I can't remember, but I knew she was coming around that corner and just running to Mike.
It's perfect. Like, I mean, that's just one of those moments. Like, I'm gonna compare it to wrestling. It's like when Miss Elizabeth and Macho Man Randy Savage reunited. Like, it's one of those moments that you feel generally happy for what you're watching. Like, I was fist pumping. It was pretty cool. See the emotion on everybody's face. It was chef's kiss.
Yeah. And with that, we get corruption going up to 35 points. And we have the Quirky Mercs, I believe, go into the 17 club with the Den. And I cannot remember the third faction for the life of me.
And now we have a tie at the top between Swag and Corruption.
Swag and Corruption at the top, and the Finstock Exchange picks up 0 points in 2 very big matches, and now has to decide which team goes into the teams tournament. Who's the boss or Founding Fathers? Who do you think goes in? Let's make
Fathers
a real bad prediction.
Okay, I'm going to say Founding Fathers just based on what happened today. Because I mean, Riley's got something to prove, I think, but they got a better chance with the Founding Fathers.
Oh, wow! I hear the deadline soon, and I also pick Founding Fathers.
It's today, it's today, according to Gucci.
Yeah,
they were recording this.
I wonder, is Ben Bateman's season over next week against Andrew Guy? Because he doesn't get in the teams tournament, and if he doesn't lose this, if he doesn't win this #1 contenders, he doesn't get to play.
Yeah, it very well could be.
Yeah, interesting. So,
anything else you want to talk about?
Oh, correct.
Yeah.
I want to mention Corruption's possible team of Adam Collins and Marisol McKee. I'm calling it now. I think that that team comes out and represents Corruption in the tournament.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a good bet. Definitely be a good bet.
All right.
All right. So anything else you want to talk about?
No, we should probably head out. We're getting long here.
Yeah, sorry, Lou. Okay, where can everyone find you there, Daniel?
You can find me around the Facebook page at Schmoes of the North, a Schmoedown fan group on Facebook, and occasionally on Twitter. I comment on most of the Northern Schmoes stuff. That's at Northern Schmo, and I'm Avengers _ SOTN, Schmoes of the North. And you can find me commenting all around the online spaces about the Schmoedown.
Yeah. And you can find me as usual at soda_the_saxman, Twitter and Instagram. You find me running the Twitter account for social media for Media Sweaties Network. And we just launched a new show called Get Sweaty, where we talk about all the things going on in entertainment. And at the end of the show, we break down what makes us sweaty. The first episode, we talked about our top 5 favorite movies of all time. So definitely check that out. You might see some familiar faces from this show pop up over there sometime. You never know. And on that note, like and subscribe the YouTube channel and the video. It always helps us out. And like Dan said, join us over in the Facebook group. And on that note, so long, everybody. Have a good evening.
Good night.